somehow, some way, here in the month of June, there are still impact players available in the transfer portal. Now, this is a dwindling number. I think a lot of guys that will come out of the portal and find homes in the month of June are going to be depth pieces if they're going to major programs. That doesn't mean they're all going to be that way, though. Zakhari Franklin is a name to know. So Zakhari Franklin, going into 2024, is going to play his final season of college football. How do I know that? Because it'll be his 6th season of college football. He spent 4 at UTSA. He had 2,000-yard receiving seasons over there. He spent this past season at Ole Miss. That turned into a redshirt situation. He's got the COVID year as well, so that's how he gets his 6th year of eligibility. He's still available. He was most recently, I think he's looked at a couple different spots, but the biggest program that I've seen him get tied to based on the reporting is Washington. And Washington has already got a pretty good-looking receiving core for Will Rogers to throw the football to. You got Denzel Boston, who is a promising young player. They've got Jeremiah Hunter, who's played at Cal the last couple of years and who I've been really, really high on. I think is a high-end number 2 to a low-end number 1 in a receiving core. You put Zakhari Franklin into the mix, and that would be a 3-headed monster, not on the same level of what they had a year ago, but you'd be lessening the drop-off. You'd be chipping away at the guy's total production from that receiver room. So that's the first name to know. He's not the highest rated transfer portal player available, according to 24/7 Sports. That's Jacoby Mathews, who I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But Franklin might have the biggest upside. He might have the most potential of anybody that is still yet to find a home. He's just sitting there in the transfer portal. There are still hundreds of kids in the transfer portal. They are not all going to find homes. The grass may not be always greener for kids who go into the portal. That's not going to stop them anyway, of course. But Zakhari Franklin, that's a name to know. Jacoby Mathews is someone who's come up on this show several times over the last month and a half. Because when he first entered, there were 2 clear candidates, Oregon and Florida State. Now, when a guy of that caliber, who's a former 5-star recruit, still grades as a 4-star transfer, he had an 81 coverage grade according to Pro Football Focus, playing as a deep safety in over 500 snaps last year for Texas A&M. By all accounts, guy's a solid player. And he's the top-rated available player in the transfer portal according to 24/7 Sports. But that's a curious thing to say, not just because of his high school recruiting profile, because when a guy goes into the portal and you immediately have reporters or people who cover recruiting putting out graphics and saying, yeah, he's tied to these 2 schools, that tends to indicate that contact has been made and the all horrible, scary tampering has taken place, which just, let me state for the record, does not bother me. It's too extensive. It's too commonplace for me to say, this is just horrible. No, everybody's doing it. How do you think a guy that goes in the transfer portal and 24 hours later has made his commitment? You think he's made that decision? You think he's gone through an entire recruiting process like Dominic Williams did at TCU, who was looking at all sorts of places before he landed on Oklahoma? Do you think that guy, that those guys are just, oh yeah, no, this is a 24-hour process, getting recruited to play football at another school? No, it's not. But Jacoby Mathews still out there. Why? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. It was Oregon and Florida State. Oregon added a different safety, Peyton Woodyard from Alabama, and they appear to be mostly set on the back end of that defense. But that's a starting caliber player who, according to Pro Football Focus, is an above average guy. So that's a name to know. Speaking of Oregon and Texas A&M, a couple more names coming out of the Aggies camp. Bryce Foster has been a starter at center for them over the last few years. He's been tied to Oregon. I've heard that it's close to a done deal and he's Oregon's to lose, which is also crazy because I don't think he would go to Oregon and start. He started at Texas A&M as a freshman in 2021. He made the SEC All-Freshman team. He got injured but started the first 4 games of 2022, and he was starting center for a large chunk of this past season as well. So that's a 3-year going into his redshirt junior campaign. Got a medical redshirt for that 2022 season that was unfortunately cut short. He's going into his 4th year. He's got 3 years, or at least 2.5 seasons worth-ish of starting experience at a Power 5 school. And he's just there. He's just available. That's the sort of guy. This is how the transfer portal works. Guys can sit there for a while. He entered a while back, and it looks like he's going to Oregon. But is that a done deal? No, because I don't know that that'd be the place where he could find the most playing time. Maybe that's not what it's about. Maybe that's not what it's about. He was looking at Oregon when he was coming out of high school in 2021, so maybe he just has always wanted to play for the Ducks, and there's an opportunity, and he's okay going to be a backup center. I mean, if that works for you, okay. That's fine. Sorry for those watching on YouTube. I got something in my eye, and it really, really itched. Okay, we're back now. Speaking of Texas A&M, do you know the name Raymond Cottrell Jr.? Because that's a guy who was part of Texas A&M's 2023 recruiting class, which was very good. He went into the transfer portal, and he was going to transfer to Kentucky. And Brock Vandegrift is expected to be the quarterback over there for Mark Stoops and company. And back in December, Raymond Cottrell Jr. was going to be an option for him to throw the football to. He's not. This is just a former 4-star wideout who has 4 years of eligibility remaining because he redshirted this past year. Only logged a handful of snaps a season ago. So you don't really know what you have. But how would you feel? Insert program of which you are a fan, whoever you are listening to or watching this show. If you just added a 4-star receiver to the room, what would your expectations? What would the potential be? What could the development be? Why didn't it work out at Kentucky? Your guess is as good as mine. He went through spring football and decided, nope, going in the transfer portal here. And he's one of those guys who, once again, is part of the new era of college football, where you go into the portal, you say, I'm going here. And then you go to spring football and you play it out and you go, no, this isn't going to work out. Now, maybe it didn't work out because he wasn't good enough over at Kentucky. Maybe Kentucky's wide receivers are just so gosh darn good and talented and deep that Raymond wasn't able to find playing time over there. Raymond Cottrell Jr. being the guy I'm referring to here once again. I just wonder. I just wonder what. There are only about 7,000 things that could cause a guy to follow that career trajectory, but this is 2024. There are no transfer portal restrictions. You may transfer as many times as you would like to. And a lot of guys take advantage of that. Look at Penny Boone, for instance. That's a guy who transferred to Louisville until he transferred to West Virginia. Like he committed to Louisville, and they're like, no, not doing that. Rashad Amos, another running back. He was coming out of the G5 ranks, going to Colorado. He's going to Ole Miss instead. A lot can change. It is a consistently and constantly fluid situation. Heck, look at Simeon Barrow Jr. down in Miami. There were reports he was trying to get out, leave Miami, didn't want to be there, was going to leave the team. Kind of a weird situation down there. Reports are looking like he's still going to be there, and that he's going to be on the team. That's a guy who was kind of an impact transfer for the Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. That's a transfer portal. When coaches don't want to deal with it, the Coastal Carolina baseball coach said he doesn't want to deal with NIL in the portal anymore, and that's part of the reason he's retiring. Well, kind of hard to blame him at some level. It can be a lot. Tony Mitchell's the last name. Another guy who's come up on this show before. Transfer safety from Alabama. He's just out there. That's a defensive back that has been coached by Nick Saban, who Nick Saban wanted to play, and Saban retires. He's more of a depth piece there. But in most years, a depth piece at Alabama can be a starter elsewhere. Like, you tell me Tony Mitchell couldn't walk into Vanderbilt's locker room and be a starting caliber player? I'm sorry, Vanderbilt. That felt like a cheap shot. But you get the point that I'm making. So there are impact guys available. It's a dwindling number, but it is not zero. And we'll see where these guys land. This episode is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring, and they do so with good reason. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.